Hello everybody, I'm Spencer Mazik and this is the Bloomberg Law Podcast. At age 28, Tom Goldstein argued his first case before the Supreme Court of the United States. And today he has argued over 20 cases before the court and is considered a Supreme Court specialist. He's a partner at Goldstein and Russell and is the founder of SCOTUSblog, a website that tracks the Supreme Court. Tom also teaches Supreme Court litigation at both Stanford and Harvard law schools. Joining me now to discuss his career is Tom Goldstein. Welcome, Tom. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, may I just begin by saying, wow, what an impressive resume you have there. Did you...
Oh, well, thanks very much. It's everybody who tries to get their own niche, to focus on one thing, like I tried to focus on the Supreme Court, I think really can excel at it. So if you stay with your mind on it, I think it usually works out.
Well, did you always know growing up, though, that you wanted to argue before the Supreme Court of the United States?
Oh, no, I had no idea. I always did think I would be a trial lawyer, and went through law school doing moot courts, but also trial advocacy and that sort of thing. It wasn't until I was an intern for Nina Totenberg, who's the NPR Supreme Court correspondent, that I kind of figured out my interest in the court.
And you argued your first case, as I mentioned in the intro, at age 28. I mean, some folks are just graduating from law school at that age. So how did you know that you were ready then to argue before the court?
A blind ignorance. I really had just decided that I was capable of doing this. It's what I wanted to do. I was really single-mindedly focused on litigating before the Supreme Court, had worked on a variety of cert petitions, had gotten some good opportunities there, and it was truly my first argument in any court. I had just decided I'm going to be a Supreme Court advocate.
Well, you started with the Supreme Court.
You just have to start somewhere, right? I got a couple of cert petitions granted, and they were my cases, and so I took it up.
So how do you get your Supreme Court cases? Do you just follow the circuits closely and see where the look for cases where the courts have split?
That's really how I started. When you're a young lawyer or a third year out of law school and you didn't clerk on the Supreme Court or work in the Solicitor General's office, if you're going to get involved in a Supreme Court case, you're going to have to go find that case and go get it. It's not going to come to you. And I still do that some, but a lot of the cases now are where people come to me, and they also come to the clinics that we run at Stanford and at Harvard. So a lot more opportunities present themselves than my having to go in and find them.
And so you graduated from UNC Chapel Hill for undergrad, and then you went to American for law school. And so there are some folks who say, well, you know, he doesn't have the right pedigree, or he didn't go to the right schools to be a Supreme Court litigator. What do you say to those folks?
I do think that at any law school, you're going to have some great people. The criteria for getting into law school aren't perfect. In addition, I don't think that Supreme Court advocacy is brain surgery. It's hard work, and you have to focus on it, and you have to know what you're doing. And it's good to have people around who have some experience, but there are unbelievable people who brief cases and argue cases at the Supreme Court who've never done it before. And so it's not like there are only a set of super geniuses who are capable of doing this work.
Yeah, and of the cases that you've argued, which is your most memorable? I was going to say favorite, but I imagine it's kind of like having children where there
Right.
isn't a favorite, is there?
No, I don't think there's a favorite. I guess the one that stands out to me at this moment is a case called Specter versus Norwegian Cruise Lines, which was the question whether cruise ships, which are almost always foreign flagged, right? They'll be flagged in the Bahamas rather than the United States because it makes them subject to lessened legal requirements, whether the cruise ships have to comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act. And that was when I argued the case, and the Supreme Court agreed with us and held that they do have to comply with the ADA because it's Americans, they get picked up at American ports, they sell tickets here, those sorts of things. The Supreme Court, when we were litigating and the Supreme Court said yes, it was kind of abstract, but my family and I went on a Norwegian cruise this summer and saw, the ADA lift and all the accessible bathrooms and that sort of thing. And it was actually, when you're a Supreme Court litigator, a lot of things can be kind of abstract. It's hopefully unlikely that I will be taken to jail and strip searched, right? I mean, it's not out of self-interest. But it's nice to see, some consequences to what you do.
Right, to have some real meaning in everyday aspects, everyday life. So let's talk about SCOTUSblog for a bit. How did that come about?
Kind of on a whim, on accident. It didn't start as a real plan. Blogging about 8 years ago was just starting to become a thing, and my wife and I, who has practiced with me almost my whole career, we thought, hey, we're trying to focus on the Supreme Court. Why don't we do a blog about the Supreme Court? And so we typed out a few things. And then somebody found, but we weren't sure that we wanted to keep it up. And so somebody found the blog and posted about it. And we got readers the first day, about 30 readers. And then it became kind of too embarrassing to quit.
And you have a lot more than 30 now.
Right. We probably, we should get about 12 million hits this year.
That's amazing.
We have a big staff of people who are work for us full time. We have a lot of outside authors, and it really has become our niche. And I'm probably known much more for the blog than I am for the law practice because people find it a useful resource. The Supreme Court's obviously an important place. The blog is completely free. It's a public service, and people have been very generous in what they've said about it.
And are you and your wife still blogging?
We are, absolutely. Amy is almost full-time as the editor of the blog. I'm the publisher of the blog, and then the masthead goes down for, almost a dozen other people who contribute either full-time or part-time. We have the incredible benefit of having the most senior Supreme Court reporter who's been covering the court for more than 5 decades. Works for Lyle Denniston.
Okay.
Incredibly experienced, and other staff members, part-time law students who work for us. Our students at Stanford and Harvard have contributed a lot. So it is a very consuming part of our lives, particularly Amy's life, and I can't ever see us not doing it.
Okay, and I understand that Bloomberg Law and SCOTUSblog will be working together. What can we expect from this union?
The Bloomberg relationship allows the blog to expand a lot. It's our first ever sponsor. I've always, or whatever law firm I was at, have always been the sponsor of the blog, and that's put some limitations. And Bloomberg's kind of commitment to public service gives us the resources really to add more staff people. We'll have a community system now where people are able to comment. We have a special feature for law students, a law student competition. We are just launching a brand new version of the blog that we worked on all summer, which is entirely new technology. So it has made possible probably our biggest leap ever in both the scope of our contributors, the kind of content that we have, and the tech underlying it.
Well, and I have to say that we're really excited here at Bloomberg. You're like a local celebrity to us here.
Well, it's great for us, obviously, to have an institution like Bloomberg, which has B-Law, is obviously very committed to this field. We built this brand over the course of 8 years on a theory of public access and excellence and independence and integrity, and so we just couldn't see ourselves ever associating with somebody that didn't have kind of the same values.
Very nice. Well, and actually, speaking of a celebrity, I actually read somewhere that your story about arguing before the Supreme Court has been optioned by Hollywood for a television series. Is that true?
It is true. It's the worst idea ever, but it is true.
Why is it the worst idea ever?
I mean, this could be a whole episode, our talk together. Yeah, that's right, and there's a whole script written and things like that. I can't... I think the television networks have concluded after 3 different TV series based on the Supreme Court that have made it to the air that it's not that exciting. It's maybe interesting, but it doesn't make for the kind of breathless CSI moments that a lot of people watch on TV. But you never know, and it was super interesting to be a part of that process and learn a lot about Hollywood and the parts of that system that make sense and that are completely broken. And I certainly have enjoyed it.
So what's next for Tom Goldstein? Do you see yourself someday maybe sitting on the Supreme Court of the United States?
Anybody who says that is not very smart, but it's definitely not true for me. I really don't have any interest in being a judge. I mean, this is so much more interesting to me to be able to, if I want to do a blog, do a blog. If I'm a lawyer and we just restarted our own small law firm focused on the Supreme Court, decide the kind of cases that you want to take. A judge has to lead kind of the life of a hermit, right? There are all kinds of conflict rules. You get the cases can be kind of boring, and there are people who it's perfect for and who are perfect for it, absolutely. I feel confident that even if I were interested in being a judge, nobody would be kind of beating my door down to put me on the Supreme Court.
So don't. After that television series,
no, exactly. I think that would kind of be the nail in the coffin. But just in general, I've really firmly decided, because there's some chance that somebody might be interested in some random judgeship for me, given, a lot of people who do what I do kind of take that turn in their career, but I don't see it. I like the independence. I like all the different experiences that come with just being a private person.
All right. Thanks, Tom Goldstein, for joining us today.
No, thanks so much for having me.
Tom Goldstein of Goldstein and Russell. For more information on this or other topics, log on now to BloombergLaw.com. Bye, everybody.